So I says, well, maybe a robot can do my job, but it sure as hell ain't gonna do it better. Because that's what I'm always trying to do, I'm always trying to, find ways to improve the product, improve my own efficiency. Guy keeps saying to me, it's not a robot, it's an automated welding line. See, his problem is, he figures every time I say robot, well, he's thinking R2-D2, And he doesn't want to be boss to know R2-D2. So fine, so automated welding arm. So what does that mean? It means for 8 years, all I ever was those suckers with an arm.
Yes.
So I figure I'm better off out of there.
Gotta tie up those raspberry bushes.
Those what, Mrs. Pearce?
Those raspberry bushes, they're all over the place.
On the walls of the Theatre Energy rehearsal space, it is written, work is the opiate of the masses, and a job should be a job, not a death sentence. Canadian statistics tell us that in October of 1986, 165,000 people in BC were out of work. Many of us may question that figure, especially if we live in Nelson and are unemployed or aware of the amount of unemployment here in Nelson. So what does this have to do with Theatre Energy's latest production? They are currently in the rehearsal process of Frank Moher's contemporary Canadian play, Odd Jobs. The cast and crew include Judith Ceroli, Nicola Harwood, Michael Pearce, with director Meredith Bain-Woodward and stage manager Suzie O'Donnell. Welcome. What is this play, Odd Jobs, all about?
Well, it's about a lot of things. On the surface, it's a story of a young man who meets an older woman who needs some help, and that's the story of their relationship. In the telling of the story, a lot of other issues are unearthed, and it becomes a story about work. What is work? What's the nature of work? The difference between work and a job. It deals with all kinds of social issues like old age and changing roles of men and women in society. And that's what it's about.
Meredith, you're very well known in Nelson, and especially in connection with Theatre Energy. This is the first play you've come to direct for Theatre Energy for quite some time. Why this play? What was it about this particular play that attracted you?
Well, there's a number of things that attracted to me the play, just like I think the play's about a number of things. The first thing that drew me to it is that it is about work, and that's been an interest of mine for a while. A few years ago when I was still with Theatre Energy, one of my desires was to do an original script about work, and that never evolved. But when I saw this play, and it dealt with those questions about what does somebody feel like when they don't have a job, and what are the conflicts that they go through, what does that do to their home life, to their relationship with their wife and their kids, and so on, and what are the questions that one asks oneself about oneself in relation to one's work, am I more or less worthwhile because I have this kind of a job as opposed to that kind of a job? Those kinds of questions have interested me for a long time. And there isn't, to my knowledge, a lot of plays that deal with that. The most famous one probably is The Death of a Salesman, which is very powerful.
Or
But
Lear, maybe.
Or King Lear?
Yeah, when he gives up his kingdom, he's out of a job, he's out of it's along the same line.
I'm not sure how many Nelson would actually relate to giving up their kingdoms. King Lear is probably a good analogy.
Anyway, there a lot of those questions I think aren't dealt with in plays, and I'm a great believer that plays should deal or can deal with questions that really immediately intersect with our everyday lives, and especially for a local audience, when plays do that, I think they just become more powerful, which is another reason why I like this play, because it's a Canadian play.
Right.
And although it deals with fairly serious stuff, it's a fairly funny play in lots of places. And a lot of the humor comes from local recognition. That these are not Neil Simon jokes. As much respect as I have for Neil Simon as a playwright, these are not about New York.
Right.
They're about Canada and the Canadian experience. And there are things that we can laugh at in this play that the guys in New York won't get, and I really like that.
That's one for us.
Right.
So, Is this a play that someone, for example, who's been unemployed for a long time in Nelson, and it's a very heart issue for them, will be able to come and see and feel good about when they've seen it?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's an empowering play? It has the potential to empower people to feel good?
I think it has the potential
Go ahead.
to empower people to explore other ways of going at it.
Yeah.
It's confusing and scary and disorganizing to your whole system of belief in yourself when you're unemployed. And there are other ways that we can look for value, self-value, besides in our paycheck. And it's hard to do that. It takes courage and imagination to start to do that kind of thing. And I think the play can, I think that's part of what the play is about.
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions about our value systems around work, employment, and unemployment.
Right.
Two of the characters that are in the play are of peer group age, right? But one character in the play stands out in terms of her age in that she is much older. And this is the character, Mrs. Phipps, that you play.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, Judith, can you talk a little about what it's like being Mrs. Phipps and how you see the world through her eyes being a senior citizen and some of the problems that she experiences? She's depicted in the play as an intelligent but disorientated character. What's that like?
Well, I think it's really interesting that the author put in a 75-year-old character because it opens a whole other world. There's a whole human resource that's not being assimilated into this culture, and I think the main thing for that character, as I experience her anyway, is the isolation of most of her peers have died and or after retirement moved away. Her husband has died. She happens to be childless. Her whole value system, she's, I think, out of touch with the trends and the rhythms and the values of the younger generations. She's 75. So the couple in the play could be her grandchildren.
Right.
Not
That's
just
the age
children,
difference.
but her grandchildren.
Yeah.
That's the age difference, exactly. And so, and she begins, I think, to spend a lot of time in her past, in her memory. And in the midst of routine chores, might just sort of slip over. I mean, I'm 45 and I do that. You know, I find, you know, if I'm doing something as boring as dishes, I'll start thinking, my mind will just trip away and I'll start thinking about something that happened yesterday. Okay, so she's doing that, only she's thinking about things that happened 35 years ago. And they become more real to her as her isolation increases and her connectedness to the now world becomes stronger or weaker, you know. She just sort of drifts off in her own world. And then she meets this young couple and makes this strong connection with these people. And so from her point of view, her conflict in this play, her turning point is, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Just like all the rest of us, what am I going to do when I grow up? Only she's 75 and she's saying, now what am I going to do with the rest of my life?
Right. One of
Well, might fold these up. The lawn chairs, I mean.
I'll do it later.
Well, no time like the present, the bloom is off the rose.
Mrs. Phipps, I gotta ask you something. You weren't down on the road last night on purpose, were you?
No! Is that what you think? Oh, why would I do a thing like that? Just when my life's work is almost finished, my equation is finished.
Now let yourself get angrier with this.
My God, is that what you think? My God, what kind of
of the common denominators between the three characters, as I understand the script, is that they all challenge what we, or have challenged in the case of Mrs. Phipps, what we classically call non-traditional work. Now, Mrs. Phipps was very much out of character when she was a younger woman, in that she held a position that was atypical for a woman in her era. And Tim, in our era, as a contemporary character, is now embracing something quite different for men to do, though it's becoming more common. Is that right?
More and more.
Yeah. So, Nicola?
Our roles get reversed in that when he loses his job, I become the supporter of the family.
Right, so you become the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And this is a real issue for a lot of people, not just in Nelson or in BC
Well,
or
I think
just in Canada
especially
even.
for Tim too, because he is such a macho type of fellow.
Yeah, he's a cowboy. Or
He's a cowboy.
He's a cowboy, right. And now he's not a cowboy anymore.
Well, he's slipping away from it.
Right.
Suddenly he's cooking raspberry fraps.
Yes.
I think it's not explored too much in the play, but it's like an underlying tension with us that he's unemployed and then I'm getting the money. It's something that we've adjusted to it, but it's hard to adjust. I feel anyway.
Where'd you get the flowers? The office?
I bought them.
You bought them?
Well, I didn't find them on the way here.
Well, I know, Ginny, but Jesus, flowers cost money.
I know. So did the cab ride over. But I got a job, stupid. I would have bought you a Mickey, but the liquor store was too far.
What?
I got a job. I'm the first one in class. I phoned up Charlene. She hasn't even sent her resumes yet.
Wait a minute, what happened?
You remember that application I sent to National Life?
Yeah.
Well, they took it. They want me to start next month.
Yeah!
And I went to Mr. Sal, and I bought myself a record. The Johnny Cash complete box set. And I'm going to get you some Long Johns. I don't care. The goddamn credit cards can wait.
Well, how much are they paying you?
$26.5
An hour?
a year.
Oh. Well, that's still pretty good. That's not bad at all. Why?
Didn't I tell you it would be a good idea?
Didn't I tell you it'd be a good idea taking these night courses?
No.
Okay, stop for a sec. Yeah, it's funny you got blocked there. There's something about that oh. You really have to figure that out. Oh, well that's
$26.5.
pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, that's pretty good, yeah.
But you really, I mean, you're not really sure, right? I
Yeah.
think that's part of the joke there. It's like an hour. That's funny.
So you don't want to make it sound like he's saying it. He knows.
No,
Okay, good.
I don't think so.
He really doesn't.
He doesn't know.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not like
Well,
that.
that's still pretty good, isn't it? I mean, that's not bad.
It's like acting that he knows but he doesn't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
People shouldn't come to this play thinking that we're going to solve all their problems because, it's not, I don't think it's the task of theater to answer everybody's questions. It's it's to raise questions.
Right.
I think,
I think it does give some hope, though, in relation to that question you asked earlier about people who are unemployed coming to see the play. They will see other ways of looking at unemployment, perhaps, or ways of taking on non-traditional roles or jobs or whatever, or different ways of thinking about work.
I think that's important because I know that in the analysis of unemployment and unemployment trends, there are some people who are saying yes, we can get back to full employment, and there are other people who are saying no, and we never will, and the best we can hope for is 20% unemployment, and what happens to the rest of those people, and we have to start looking as a society at that, what happens, and have to really reevaluate our attitude about what work is and how we place ourselves in that definition. And if I don't have a job that doesn't pay, did I say that right? If I have a job that doesn't pay me more than $40,000 a year, I'm a failure,
Right.
and that's just no longer valid. It can't be valid anymore. And if I have a job that fills my time, that allows me to adequately feed and clothe my family, and I only work at it for 3 days a week, then what do I do with the rest of my time? Those kinds of questions. So I think that's the kind of stuff that it brings up for people to look at more than saying, oh, gee, are you unemployed? Well, come to this play and find out what to do. Because it's not that, you know, but it does ask some of those questions, and it lets people know that you're not the Lone Ranger, you know.
That you're not by yourself in the
That's
shoot.
right, and that sometimes I think that can be very helpful. You know, if you can see these characters on stage who are going through things that you go through in your dilemma, then it's very helpful. I'm sure you know that in your work, you know.
It's like
Or lack thereof. Right. I just want to bring that back to what I think the original question was, which was related to the breadwinner and the concept of breadwinner, because for centuries we've had a very definitive concept for who and what the breadwinner is in a family structure, right? And one of the things that I understand this play does is that it actually challenges that. And I know that there has been a lot of material produced, whether it be films or books or plays, that do challenge that. But how does this particular play challenge that concept? What medium does it actually use?
It's necessity. There's no other choice but that I make the money.
Right, so necessity to survive.
Yeah.
And where you can get the job.
I think
And where you can get the job.
Yeah. And Tim goes through changes, but it's not. What was I going to say? It's not as though he's conscious of challenging the values of work. He just does it through his own experience, forces him to find new purpose in work.
Right. And a sense of pride?
I think, and of self, of who am I? That's what's
So a sense of identity.
Sense of identity, yes.
And are these the things that this play potentially can impart to an audience member who's open to hearing this stuff and to seeing this stuff? A sense of pride and a sense of redefining what breadwinner really means in our society.
You know, what work really means,
And what
really,
work
and
really
that's what
means,
comes down to it. All three of us have very different definitions of work. Mine's quite set, and hers is quite set, and his is what is changing through the situation. So it's quite interesting. And her values, even though she comes from a much different generation, her values are very ageless and very universal, and my values are very much of my generation and kind of short-sighted. So it's interesting.
Interesting statement about the difference in the generations and their perceptions of the world. I mean, you're saying that someone who's much older has a lot to offer us by introducing us to a much broader sense of what the world is about, whereas in today we're more inclined to be, as you said, short-sighted and near-focused and probably rigid.
Yeah.
Does that come across in the character of Jeanette? Is she a more rigid character than, say, Mrs. Phipps?
I don't think she has the vision. Her, you could say, a lack of imagination in relation to work. She's been raised with a certain amount of values that if you can just make enough to get by and then so you can relax and have fun, then you're doing fine, you're doing great. That's as far as you need to go. Maybe in her past, they never got that far. So that's a leap for her, would be to make enough money to be able to go away for a weekend in the mountains, which is what she says in the play. She just wants to be able to relax.
Right.
Where for Mrs. Phipps, her work is not what she does for her job.
Right.
Which is quite interesting. Yeah.
And
She's
there's
a
also-
mathematician. I don't know if that was said. She's a university professor.
There's also a nice layer there of the universal of how we want to teach our children the things that we've learned from our mistakes, but we never can. And Mrs. Phipps has that role in this play of having a conversation actually with Jeanette, where she says, look, this is how it was for me, and this is how I see it now, and basically I don't want you to make the same mistake, right? I mean, isn't that part of it? And Jeanette sort of has to say, because of who she is, I have to do it my way, thank you very much, just the same, which are certainly the conversations I have with my daughter, who's 13, and I say, but look, I've been there, and I know what it's to me, and she goes, yeah, Mom, and I think so there's a little bit of that in this play too, which makes it even richer.
You seem like a smart woman. Why did you take this job?
I find that a little insulting.
Do you?
Yes. I didn't go to night school for 6 months to learn how to crack gum. It's a skill. I learned it and somebody wants to pay me for it.
Oh, yes. they didn't though. You see?
Well, they paid you to teach.
They paid me to teach and to sit around the faculty club acting ditzy, educated, but ditzy so that I didn't offend the dean. Line?
I was a bit of a freak. You
I was a bit of a freak, you see. I was a bit of a freak, you see. A woman in the sciences. Would have been better if I taught art, history, or English. The men climbed the mountains. We stayed down below and took pictures of flowers. I see that's changing now. Women have better prospects now. And what do? You let somebody hand you a computer and you settle in for life? You move up one rung on the ladder and you think you've reached the top? What are you going to be doing 15 years from now? Still sitting in some corner putting names to numbers? It's the waste, the absolute utter waste that horrifies me.
Well, it's better than what I'm doing now.
Is it?
Well, at least with a computer, I don't have to talk to anybody.
Well, computers are wonderful, dear, but they won't solve all your problems. They're only as wonderful as you make them.
Tim gets caught in the middle of that. That's a lot of what the conflict ends up being, is his kind of being torn between two very different ways of seeing things.
And two very different women that he's very attached to. So it's very much a play, about relationships too.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It also raises the issue of, there's a line in the play about you go where the jobs are. And it raises this whole point about moving, about having to relocate if you can't find work in one town, and what that means to your social system, your support system, your friends, your family. And what happens for Tim and Jeanette is that, well, especially for Tim, is that he ends up being caught between two women. He's got to leave one of them, and the second act is about how that's resolved.
Which we're not going to tell the audience
No,
right now.
it's your basic.
Find out the resolution.
It's your basic other woman, you know. It's your basic triangle. Only the other woman is 75 years old. It opens
not
up that
about sex,
whole
it's about
other,
about sex is
other
over.
world of issues
Loyalties and alliance.
and redefining the family. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in a sense, the three of them do create a family just by their interactions,
Yeah.
and then it's put to the test.
And it's the dependency that we have on our families what starts to create it.
Yes.
And it's also how people don't like, in what ways people are willing to be dependent and in what ways they're not willing to be dependent on each other. Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's just as much of the not wanting to be dependent that goes on. Yeah.
It's a really rich play, it's a very warm, human play. All three of the characters are very interesting and very richly drawn. So that the more that we worked on it, for sure this is true of me and the others have expressed it too, the more we work on it, the more it's just, it's this bottomless play. It just, we haven't hit bottom. There's just, the more you work, the more there is. It's so deep and so rich and so warm and so lovely.
And it's been like, even in rehearsals now, we've had two people close to tears. One person actually crying, and
That
somebody
wasn't
else.
you, Suzie, was it?
Well, I was
So you
close.
managed
I
to
got
get
close.
Well, it says something about like the stage manager who's not even acting a role, she's doing her job, is close to tears.
There's also some very funny scenes too.
It's a
Yeah.
very,
We are-
very good
A
play.
lot of the time we're cracking up while we're trying to get through the material in some places. It's lots of fun.
Yeah.
New
There's
ways
some real
of doing it.
naive charm in it. To, the way I see it, the characters and stuff.
Now, Michael, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, how does Tim, who's this macho cowboy, who's not really a cowboy and probably not even really macho, if the truth be known, how does he reconcile all these different layers of roles that he has, that he performs to the world? I mean, this is Tim, the character. How does he reconcile that?
You mean during the course of the play?
Yes.
I think, as Judith said, Nicola, there's a necessity that pushes him into positions where he really doesn't have a choice to say, I can't do this because I'm macho. He does it. And when he loses his job the very beginning of the play, he's unemployed. And what I was talking about in terms of a man's identity resting on his job. When his job is gone, suddenly he really hasn't got that identity anymore. Is he that macho cowboy? He's unemployed. His wife is bringing home the bacon, right? So I think he's in a position, because he's out of work and because he's really looking around for something to look at himself in, like a mirror, to say, okay, this is Tim. Without that mirror, he's in a position to make a lot of changes.
Right.
You know? And because the world is changing around him,
It's like a
he
void.
does make those changes, yeah. So.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for being here today and for plugging the play. Let's hope that the Nelson audiences make a grand effort to come to it. The opening night for Odd Jobs, Frank Moher's play, is Thursday, November the 27th. It runs through till Sunday, November the 30th, in which there's also a matinee at 2 p.m. Performance time is 8 p.m. And the place is Lee Hall at L.V. Rogers High School. Thank you.